Hello. On Friday the 16th of October, just past 6 p.m, we've got our new moon in the sign of Libra. Now, as we know, at the new moon, the sun and the moon are together. So there is an intrinsically more relational feel to that day, or to that week even. Our sun is our soul, it's our spirit, it's our healthy sense of ego. And then our moon is our longing, what we keep, what is more introverted. When they're together, most generally, there is a kind of equilibrium of our wants and of our needs. Traditionally, I always love the Libra new moon, only comes once a year. Traditionally, in times gone by, it was the best day of the year to get proposed to, or to propose. People would get proposed on the new moon of Libra, whatever day it landed in that month, and then they would marry 6 months later on Beltane, around May the 1st. So traditionally it's a time of real beauty, of relation, of coming together and a seed being planted in union. Now this month is slightly different. There is still that feel, that's still happening, that's always going to be there because it's just written in times gone by. People have been doing it for eons and eons and eons. It's there, it's not really changing. But what is different this month, this year, this kind of life, is that there's lots of different layers of lived existence on top of each other. There is a lot of oppositions this month, a lot. Firstly, there is the sun and the moon opposite Mars and Lilith. There is Mercury opposite Uranus, and there is Neptune opposite Venus. So in astrology, as we know, oppositions are like a strong dualism. It's like full moon energy, but at a new moon. We have 6 planets which are retrograde. Chiron, the North Node, which is an energetic point, Neptune, Uranus, Mars and Mercury. So it sounds really confusing, because it is. We're in this kind of seesaw of relational duality. It's like we should all be very together, it's the new moon, it's Libra season, it's this connectivity period. But then we have these strong karmic oppositions. And this kind of tight dualism lends itself to arguments, frictions, people who are very close, perhaps people who shared an opinion, starting to disagree. It can be like a collective unfolding and a collective turning against each other in a way. It's very harsh to have so many oppositions at one new moon. Now, most specifically, we'll look at the sun and the moon because they're like the strongest, kind of personal, very vibrant planets, and what they're opposing. Sun and the moon are in Libra, 23 degrees of Libra, having a nice time there together, but they are meeting virtually directly opposite Mars and Lilith, which are conjunct. Now, Mars is like the god of war. Mars is our fiery, directive, quite condensed and cardinal action, like a Mars person would need to do. Mars needs to move. Mars is like frustrated and restless and crawling up the walls, needing. Now, Lilith is the shadow of the divine feminine, the boundaryless expanse of the divine feminine. And her being conjunct Mars in this way, it's like she is puncturing holes in the illusion in which we live. She's the castaway feminine. She's like the Eve that got banished from the Garden of Eden. She's not a wife, she's not a mother, she's not conventionally like easily received. She's not a useful patriarchal feminine. She is the embodiment of sovereignty and the divine claiming of selfhood. We live in a world of great dualism. Self and other, mine and yours, even sun and moon, masculine, feminine, light and shadow, good and bad, legal and illegal, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, conspiracist, or believing everything that you were told, Labour, Tory, whatever. Everything is so dualistic. We see things as, well, if you're this thing or you this thing. If you're this thing, you can't possibly be this thing. Black Moon Lilith, she's like an untethered landscape, a kind of trickster. She just moves in this space between where there is no rules, no should. Our kind of shadow is in our should. So when we have Mars conjunct Lilith in this way, we are bringing our anger, our drive, our aggression, our doing into this divine feminine which has been cast away. All that we have cast away personally, but more specifically collectively, this is a kind of, I said this last week, like an old, far back pain. So much has been buried and so much is starting to be brought up to the surface. Libra energy hates conflict, loves the group, loves the union, loves just the flow of peace and healthy, energetic exchange. So one of the shadow sides of Libra is that they can glaze over. They can glaze over with lightness to avoid conflict. Lilith conjunct Mars in Aries are looking for conflict. They're looking for where these two ends meet. How can we move between? How can we disidentify with what is? How can we move into nothingness, which is everythingness? That is this Aries. Having our sun and our moon in Libra, that is just, there is such a tight push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. No, glaze it over. Let's all get on. Let's all be one. Let's all stick together. No, there is flaws, there is holes. It feels like a rope that is fraying, and this pull has been happening ever since the Garden of Eden. I mean, this is an old rope, and it is fraying. What have we cast into the shadow? What is not allowed? And it's starting to come up. Now, Venus is also opposite Neptune, so be aware of a tendency to over-romanticize what is, and the capacity to over-idealize a situation. Neptune, again, is the ideals, mysticism, dreams. Neptune is wonder and mercy and innocence, and sometimes being really gullible. That is, someone who had a really strongly Neptune aspect in their chart would be more gullible maybe than someone who had a strong Pluto aspect. Now, Pluto stationed direct the other day. Pluto, much like this Lilith and Mars, is this unearthing of buried power, this unearthing of secrets, this unearthing of the past, bringing it up to see it, to clear it. I describe Pluto as everything that we put on the shelf because we're not ready to deal with it, and it's now coming back. We have to see what's on the shelf. We have to explore what we weren't ready to deal with. I'm not a fatalist at all. It's not in my nature. But there is lots of holes which we're starting to see in the way that things operate, in the way that things move. And we have a kind of choice this new moon about where we fall on this axis. The Libra is very strong and it's very enticing because there's an innate safety in Libra. There's an innate safety in numbers. There's a longing to be there. We're collective creatures. But with Pluto stationing direct and with this really tight Lilith and Mars in Aries, we're being pulled back into truth. And I don't think it's going to be very easy. This many oppositions all at once. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some more riots, or people were angry, or all of a sudden people were more aware that someone thought something different than them. And this dualism is just tight and relational, and within families and within friendship groups and within relationships. It's like a pressure cooker building this year, and it's building up to December the 21st. That is when it's going to pop. So I hope that you all have a lovely new moon. Sending love.